Finally, after the limited footage of George Floyd's death went viral and caused riots, dozens of deaths, and destruction throughout the country, body cam footage has finally been released, leaked to and published by a media outlet called the Daily Mail. This new footage, of course, hasn't been reported on like the initial footage. Quite silent. I wonder why. Perhaps it's because the story the new footage tells doesn't fit a certain narrative. So let's take a look at it. So here we go. I'm going to try to stay calm through this. I understand this is a polarizing subject, and I get passionate about it myself. So you guys bear with me. We're going to try to approach this again with clear conscious thought, a level of clarity that allows you to break it down and understand it. So unlike this black and white story of George Floyd being a peaceful and compliant man who was killed and strangled to death by this anti-black racist sociopath, white cop, because he has these unconscious biases, we're going to look at this differently. Was he peaceful and was he compliant? George Floyd, that is. Well, it depends on who you ask. If you believe that a white police officer who kills a black man, no matter what the circumstances are, is somehow motivated by racism, well, it'll probably be pointless asking you that question. But for the rest of us, again, who want to approach this thing with critical thinking skills, clear conscious thought, we're gonna look at it a little differently. So first, let me preface this first by saying some of these killings may very well be motivated by racism. I'm never denying that. But all of them, that every person contingent on their skin color may very well be a psychopath, a sociopath, because he or she just can't help themselves because of their genetics. It's like saying every person who's poor can't help themselves and therefore must steal or take something that doesn't belong to them so they can survive. That's not the norm. Or claiming that because George Floyd's violent history, it justified what happened to him. That's just a stupid conclusion right there. Or even looking past the medical examiner's report that George Floyd was not strangled to death and in fact had pre-existing heart conditions and even had 3 illicit drugs in his system, including fentanyl, which is 50 times more potent than morphine and known to cause respiratory distress. And only looking at the officer's subdue and restrain neck suppression technique. That's not clear conscious thoughts, folks. That's excluding context. Let me make it more relatable. You're no more a racist threat because of your skin color and employer than you are a threat because you try to pass a counterfeit bill and happen to be black. It's like going to the dentist for a tooth extraction, and even though the dentist knows you have gum disease, but doesn't tell you, nor does he do anything about it. You excluding context, valuable context, and other variables. Any variable that's left out of any narrative jeopardizes the truth. Excluding even a few facts puts the narrative and truth in jeopardy. There's no way to have clear conscious thought about this subject matter. There's no way to approach it with a clear, unbiased mindset or with critical thinking skills, which is the ability to analyze your own perspective, your own thoughts, to make sure you're seeing through the lens of clear conscious thought without adding all this context. Folks, there's a few points of clarity that I like to point out that really should be considered in applying critical thinking skills to this subject, to what happened. But before we do that, let's take a look at the additional video and see. And before we do it also, folks, let's put race and emotion aside. Let's put the past aside. Let's put slavery, economic condition, guilt, experiences, anything that we call triggers, that triggers these conscious biases. We talk about unconscious biases, which is the notion that you're acting a certain way because of prejudice biases or superiority, which can promote or develop racism. And you don't even, how do you even know of this unconscious bias? Well, if this unconscious bias is what makes a person does this thing, how does the person who's on the outside looking in recognize? How do they identify it? I'm just asking. What if your interpretation is wrong? And I don't know, maybe like a whole lot of communities that turn upside down with billions of dollars in businesses and countless lives lost, having this perspective has changed their lives forever. Anyway, that's a whole nother video. Let's watch and finish the rest of this video, and then we'll get back to it.
Step out of the vehicle and step away from me, all right? Step out and face away. Step out and face away.
Okay, please don't shoot me. Please, man.
I'm not going to shoot you. Step out and face away.
I'm going to get you out of here, man. Please don't shoot me, man.
Don't shoot me, man.
Please, man. I just lost my mom, man. Stop resisting, man. I'm not. Yes, you are. Oh, ouchie, man.
Are you on something right now?
No, nothing. You acting erratic.
Let's go.
Yeah, man.
Let's go.
Why y'all doing me like that, Mr. Officer? Please crack it for me and stuff, man. I am claustrophobic for real, Mr. Officer.
You got him?
Can you please crack it for me? Please.
Yes, I'll
Rub my
crack
name.
it.
Stay with me, man.
I will.
Please stay with me, man. Thank you. I'm not that kind of guy, man.
Take a seat.
Yo, I'm gonna die here.
Take a seat.
I'm gonna die, man.
You need to take a seat right now.
And I just had COVID, man. I don't want to go back to that.
Okay, I'll roll the windows
No.
down. Hey, listen.
Dang, man.
Listen.
I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not a bad guy, man.
Get in the car.
I'm not a bad guy. Man. Oh, my nose. Please, officer. Please, please.
Take a seat.
Please, man. Please. No,
Take a seat.
I can't choke. I can't breathe, officer. Please. Please.
Fine.
My wrist, man. My wrist, man, please. I can't take this, man. I can't. I'm only on the ground. I'm only on the ground.
Get in the squad.
Only on the ground. I know I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
So cool. We watched it. So what do you think? So let me first say this. So that's some points of clarity. That's what I call it. That I want to touch on. So what are they? What are these points of clarity? So let me preface this point again by saying the officer was wrong. It's unfortunate that I got to keep saying that. Somebody look at this video and say I'm being insensitive, disrespectful, etc. When I'm just acknowledging something, you know what I mean? I'm just trying to bring some clarity to the conversation. So the officer was wrong. He should have a fair trial and get everything he deserves. By the way, a little tidbit. Officer and George Floyd, they knew each other, by the way, which provides more context. But my first point of clarity is that George Floyd was not cooperating. He was under the influence and he was resisting arrest. Second point of clarity, the officers were remarkably calm and reasonable for most of the interaction. The third point of clarity was that George Floyd claimed he couldn't breathe and he was going to die well before there was a knee on his neck. Throughout the whole video, from the time he was in the car to the time he was on the ground. Fourth point of clarity, officers never did or said anything that any reasonable person could say was even remotely racist. Look, man, all these things don't completely absolve the officer of at least bare minimum neglecting to do the right thing. But it also doesn't completely absolve George Floyd of any type of responsibility and accountability for his actions. I know this isn't a popular perspective. I know this isn't a popular opinion, but I don't do this for that. But if you take a certain position because it's popular to do it, so you might just be on that broad road that an old ancient proverb references. You guys take care please hit the like button, share, subscribe, so that you can be notified all my videos I post. Hopefully this brought you a level of clarity and understanding to this very, like I said, polarizing situation. My prayers go out to Mr. George Floyd's family. Again, this video wasn't done to be disrespectful or insensitive or anything like that. Again, I'm just trying to bring some more context to the storyline because it's needed. Without context, there's no context, there's no clarity. And without clarity, you undermine the truth. And we need truth in these situations. Truth is what's going to move us forward. Again, you guys take care.